Hello.
Hello. W-
Um,
Once again, good to see you.
we've just been going in circles for 10 minutes. What should we talk about?
Yeah,
Um, because there are a lot of ideas, and honestly, a lot of it doesn't seem super fresh. Some of it just seems like a venue for us to crab at each other. Some of it just seems
right.
like we each have one sentence to say, and then that's it, the shortest podcast ever.
Yeah. And we never
Um,
disagree. That's a fault of ours. Like, we really need to find something to
yeah.
tear us apart.
But there was an article last week, I guess, in
Yeah.
Ad Week by Mark Ritson, once again bringing up the whole Unilever influencer declaration that
Proclamation.
they're
Right.
putting all this money into influencer. And I have seen some, full disclosure, I haven't read it super carefully, so you're going to kind of lead this discussion. I have not read it super carefully because I've seen people calling it rage bait and clickbait, and I've just have not been in a mood to take the bait.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of protecting my mental state and waiting
Fair.
until I was feeling pissier to just go ahead and read it. But I have been seeing all the angry posts about it. So I do know that this did get hackles up. It is related to influencer. It seems to be ruffling feathers and causing people to share their thoughts. So,
Okay.
um, why don't we tackle it?
So you're saying beyond the comments on that post, you're saying other people have seen the article in other organic ways or whatever and are bringing it to their own LinkedIn feeds and saying,
Yeah, I'm
shaking
seeing
their
a bunch of
fists.
people talking about it on LinkedIn.
Okay. And so let me take the baton and back up a step and underscore that Danielle and I have spent not only the last 10 minutes, but there's something going on, I think, with you and me. I'm going to frame it like this. I think 2026 is turning out already to be a very different year for us business wise. And I think we're more immersed in the work than maybe the past 2 years, incrementally maybe, but just like we're digging in, we're actually enjoying the space again. And so there's not as much time perhaps to navel gaze and think about like the bigger picture. I just want to call
Like,
that out because I
I
think,
like that perspective. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's not actually that we've run out of things to say, it's that we are so busy
we're
with all the
just
work
in the
that
work. Yep.
it's hard to come up with.
And sometimes being in the work as much as we are leads to these sometimes humorous, sometimes annoying, one off commentary that you and I might have, like, you'll never believe what happened, or this, what this person, or I've been peppering you with questions about the Instagram back end because some things have changed in measurement, but nothing that's like fulsome enough for this, other than these topics that we've had recently of here are all the things I hate about working with influencers.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get away from that. Okay, so that said, here we are back talking about Unilever, the CEO. The article was the CEO who made the proclamation or the promise that they were going to lean more heavily into influencers going forward. And the article that we're talking about made the comparison that recently, in the last 5 years, maybe, Unilever had a previous proclamation around every brand in our portfolio needs to now have a purpose. It needs to be a purpose driven. The marketing needs to be purpose driven. And what a debacle that was, because a toilet cleaner, the purpose is to clean toilets. Like, it's not necessarily something more grand
Like
or
you can't take the magic of what they pulled off with Dove and apply it to a toilet cleaner.
direct. And maybe even further, that 5, 6 years ago, DEI was huge and budgets were being carved out for DEI initiatives. And that has gone the way of, I don't know what a good analogy is there, but it doesn't exist in that same fervor. So market conditions, economic climate changed. And now the new shiny thing is creator influencer for Unilever to hitch their buggy to and try to drive market share across this portfolio of brands, which are very, very disparate
Right.
and different. And my problem that I went in, to kind of pick apart was this insistence by the author that influencer creator is good only for building affinity with current brand advocates and loyalists and folks who already know and use a brand. And it does not do anything for light and non users or non customers. And so I did take the bait because that makes my jaw drop and wonder, what are we even talking about? That's exactly what influencers and creators can do if handled in the right way. And it underscores my like mission in 2026, which is to try to turn or stem the tide or turn the tide around. Everything needs to be scale and everything needs to be modeled after a media buy, because we're missing so much of the value of working with influencers. Case in point, an article that says it's only good at building affinity with people who already know and like the brand. Any jumping off point there that hits your, funny bone?
I mean, there's so many. I guess I have an issue with anyone trying to describe influencer marketing in any kind of broad strokes, because just like any kind of marketing or advertising initiative, it's not all the same. It's not a monolith. So there are, I mean, like we've talked about this before, there are the posts that this guy is probably thinking of where someone, stands up and says, I really love this. But I guess I'm so confused because to me, what he's saying is the benefit of
What's wrong with building affinity with your
he's saying
current,
that it only builds affinity among people who actually use it,
or would, yeah, use it or are in the
the
market
product.
for it,
So like
maybe?
if he's talking about a beauty product, so like let's say Dove, he's saying that Dove influencer marketing posts only work with people who already use Dove. That doesn't make sense.
His line was something like influencers,
I was
creators are,
trying to, if my eyes were scanning, I was like trying to find the sentence where he talked about it because I don't even understand.
yeah, only good at growing brand affinity that was already there, and they struggle to connect with light and non-users. My take
Interesting.
is that's very based in the concept that influencer creator is all about sales, is all about driving sales.
Yeah, that's one problem with it, which we should get into. I guess I also don't see that as something that it does very well. Like, if I'm already into something, I'm probably less likely to watch. Like, why do I need to watch, like, this lip gloss that I'm wearing? I found out about it from an influencer. She has done a lot of videos and Instagram stories about this lip gloss.
Yep.
As soon as I bought it, I'm not watching it again. I don't need to see Sarah
Right.
put on the same lip gloss 100 times. I already bought
Yeah.
it. I have moved on.
You don't need to
And
confirm your choice anymore. Yep.
so I'm like, basically not saying that like my use case with the lip gloss is like the be all end all of how everyone uses social media, but like everything about my journey on that is different from what he's saying. So one, didn't know about it, but had never heard of this brand before, didn't know about it, saw it, was interested by it, actually ended up buying it. Now I am a user and now I have zero interest in seeing anything about it ever
Right.
again. So like everything about that, again, just one journey, one
Right.
random lady in her 50s, but like everything about that journey is different from what he is saying.
Well, part of it resonates in the sense that the influencer did tap into your need to know something about a specific topic. So you had affinity for the category, let's say, or the use case, and drove you to purchase. So that's making people lose their minds. The drove to purchase piece, the
Because
conversion
that's
piece.
not for, yeah, like this happens to be an influencer who's very good at that. There are not very many influencers who are good at that.
Right. Now, the other piece though is what you just encapsulated is this this journey, this user experience with so many touch points that deliver value and that can be plumbed for insights. And you're still right now with that influencer, you're hanging on this cliff of value that that person could still deliver to you in talking about other things. Because if you like what she recommended and you bought it and you like it, now you're equity for this is what I think they're forgetting is it's the affinity for the influencer that's important, not the affinity for the brand that they're representing. And then that
Yes,
can be a halo effect.
and but I don't think we can forget the fact that now so few it's not like the old days of blogs. We've talked about this before, where you're seeing everything that an influencer puts out and like all of their content is going to their followers. In
Right.
this like world of the For You page, a lot of like, sure, we all have favorite influencers that we follow, but when we're doing when we're doing a influencer marketing campaign, the vast majority of views that we get on that content is coming from people who are not followers. They're coming from people who fit the demographic of the brand. We picked an influencer who tells a really great story, creates compelling content, and we're
Right.
putting that content in front of the right eyeballs. And sure,
Yeah.
sometimes it's their following, sometimes it's a lookalike to their following,
And you're
sometimes
putting
it's
paid behind that. So you get
that's what I'm
huge
saying is
eyeballs.
that
Like
the
it's never a problem.
90% of the views are coming from paid, and so it's not sure some of that paid will be hitting their existing audience, but
Right.
the reality now is that we're not that worried about existing audience other than it gives us a sense of who the content appeals to, but it's not the end all be all
Right.
of the audience for this content.
I think existing audience and that new audience that you're hitting with paid are, I don't want to say beside the point. I think we've lost the thread on where the value is because you can always buy more eyeballs and you can always buy the kind of eyeballs you want. That can be very prescriptive. The value, though, happens in these in between spaces where you've just said you watch the content. Maybe did you look out for it? Like, were you searching this or just this person came into your feed because it looks like other people you
I
follow?
know I've known her forever. Forever. I've known her for over 20 years, and she always has beautiful makeup, beautiful clothing too that I can't afford. I can't afford the makeup.
Yep.
And
Oh my
her
God. See, like right there is an insight that the brand needs to be understanding about the customer who's buying. She's aspirational, this influencer. I
yeah,
want the whole package. What I
right.
can
But I'm
afford is the
not
lip
but I'm not
gloss.
buying a $2,000 sweater or bag
Yes.
or pair of shoes, but I will 100% buy a $35 lip gloss. Sure.
Okay. By the way, even before you met this influencer a long, long time ago, I was friends with somebody who was a fashion designer. And she educated me on how the fashion shows, often the whole look that you saw on the runway was literally to sell the bag, right? Whatever, like, so this practice has been around for a long time. Now influencers are doing it. They're giving you the whole look, they're giving you the aesthetic, the aspiration, and the entry point for you in this case was the lip gloss.
Well,
So,
and it's we're all and to your answer your question, like, yeah, I was looking, I like the she has a style that I admire. And so when she shares something that is attainable for me, I pounce on it. But the same thing happens when I watch TV. And I don't know how this fits into the conversation, but we just finished the third season of The Diplomat.
yeah,
And I love Kate Weiler and like
yeah.
just shoot her into my veins. And in this season, she was wearing this white dress that I absolutely adored. When am I going to wear a floor length white dress? I do not go to ambassador parties at a
Right.
castle, but I love this dress. And so I instantly like searched online to find it. And it's like, wasn't too, I was actually shocked. It was only $800. Still not going to get it. But like, I'm looking for inspiration. Aren't we
Yeah.
all? Like, we're all looking for a solution. That's why the wire
Right.
cutter works. Like, when you're reading the New York Times, you know, and you're like, oh, they did a thing on mattresses and I need a mattress. Or
Yeah.
like part of influencer marketing is getting that great content out there so that whenever people are ready to
Mm-hmm.
figure out what they
Yes.
want, they
Out
will
of
find it
market
there,
demand gen.
especially
Yes.
especially now that the LLMs are searching social media content. Like, I'm sharing way too much. I'm, like, in the market for a dry snorkel, and which I
Aren't we
didn't even
all?
know was a thing until last week,
A
and so
dry
I started
snorkel.
searching reviews of dry snorkels,
I love
and I
it.
know which one I want, and I'm keeping an eye out, and, like, but
Yeah.
that content about the dry snorkels, I don't even know when it was created
Right.
online, but, like,
Oh,
I needed it and I looked for it. Like, we all have this, like, crazy buying process that
yes.
starts, I mean, this is why they say you need to see something 6 times before you
Oh,
typically make a purchase, because we're
yeah.
living our life and we're absorbing things. There's, like, this ambient awareness of the stuff that's going around us, like Kate Weiler, like, it's more important that she seems smart and is not spending all this time on her looks, but, like, every once in a while she pulls something out and she looks really great, and, like, oh, that kind of feels like me, and I like
Yeah.
that, and then I see her in the dress, and so that
Right.
hits me, and then I'm on Instagram and I see Sarah and her lips look great, and, like, we're just,
That's what
all
you
this
can
stuff
do.
is
Like,
swirling
boom.
around us,
Yes.
and I don't know, like, to me, that's honestly more compelling than a fancy ad featuring models that's in a magazine.
Well, it has absolutely caused us to be more in touch with, I think, our consumer side, our aspirational side, the influencer, the rise of influencer presence and social media combined and all of that. I think it primes us for starting to put pins in things of what we want that we might not have ever known about. So, yay for influencers on that level. And what I was driving at though is, did you like the post? Did you comment on the post? Did you share the post? Did you save the post?
Hell no.
Did you you probably went to the
I might have
website
saved
for
it.
the
I might have
yeah.
saved it because I sometimes save makeup stuff because I don't know how to do it, and so
If
sometimes it, like, it's
like a
almost a little
tutorial.
tutorial. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Another learning point right there. That's where brands need to understand B2B and B2C. By help, you're a non-user, you're a light user. You need the education too to make it feel like it's all come together. That's where influencers can step in and make it feel like we have seen our programs. We target moms with a wellness supplement, and the moms are literally telling us, and they're not telling us, but telling their audience, and the audience is responding back. I'm going to slip this into my husband's, routine because I can't get him to take care of himself. Like, they tell each other things that they wouldn't tell a brand. And so this is my passion, is that there's just value packed in all over the nooks and crannies of these events, these campaigns, collaborations that brands and their agencies want to be very buttoned up and like every, T crossed and I dotted. And fine, I'm for precision, but there's so much that happens that's qualifiable but not quantifiable.
And what about the other piece I think that's missing from this article that I haven't read completely, is, like, usage stuff. So, I mean, brands, so much of the value that a brand gets out of influencer content is from being able to use it on their own feed, because study after study shows that this lo-fi content that is coming from a real person, is sharing the perspective of a real person, is incredibly compelling.
Yeah.
Maybe part of this Unilever example is not like we're pushing all of our marketing off to the influencers. We're taking 50% of this spending and just, like, outsourcing it. I don't think it's that. I think it's, we are acknowledging that this lo-fi style of content is really compelling to today's consumer, and we want to supplement this, like, big, shiny, fancy stuff that we do with our creative agencies, who, by the way, we're still using and we're still making
Yeah.
all of that stuff. We want to start supplementing it way more heavily with some of this real content from real people that, yes, is going
Yeah.
to live on their feeds, but you know what, it's also going to live on our feeds, and it's also going to
It
kind of help to create that overall marketing ecosystem of who we are out there
y-
in the world, because that's how
your
people consume stuff
your
now.
brand shows up in so many different places, whether you've planned it or not. It's just out there. And so I agree with you, getting the customer, the non-customer, familiar in different touch points with an aesthetic that isn't always the polished brand, high tier one agency
Yeah.
production. But there's just so much connective tissue that has to happen to make it like I think one of the biggest barriers for brands in general is when consumers can't picture themselves changing brands, using whatever it is, et cetera, et cetera. Then you've got this barrier. So the more you can go from the hi-fi into the granular lo-fi and keep all those pieces going, the
I
better.
I also we're running out of time, but I also just want people to think about how I believe also that the lines are blurring between what is influencer marketing and what isn't. So like if you look at like my new obsession, Rob Roush from Love Island and The Traders, who's doing all the sponsored content now, the vast majority of the sponsored content that he's doing, he is not shooting himself.
Hmm.
He is appearing as talent
Oh, right. Okay.
in
It looks a
videos
little
that
more traditional.
are being created to live online.
Hmm.
So it's kind of influencer marketing style content that is featuring this influencer who's just known
Right.
for reality shows, but he's not making it. He's flying and doing it, to wherever from his trailer in Alabama and going wherever and like participating in the shoot
And it's
as
quite
talent.
scripted.
And
Yep.
so like does that in my mind that's influencer marketing budget, but it has all of it's also pulling in like the whole production team, all this
Yeah.
stuff that would be traditionally seen as not influencer. And so there's it's kind of fuzzy now. Like where does
Well,
that
yeah, you're reminding me of how when reality shows first were a thing and they were quote unquote reality and supposed to be unscripted. And I don't know how quickly they turned into very scripted, but still reality, right? We still think we're getting this behind the scenes look at what you just described is the same kind of deal. Like it's influencer, but it's not that in
right?
the field raw guerrilla footage. It
But
is very planned.
if that's what if that's what Unilever, if that's part of what Unilever's thinking about, sure they're putting all that money into that. Like those are that's talent now.
Yeah.
Like that's where you find talent
Right. What
now.
percentage of a campaign needs to be influencer for it to be called influencer budget?
And
5%?
what
95%?
and is it only influencer if the influencer is doing all the production? Like what if the
Right.
influencer is just talent?
Right? I mean, this brings us back to last Super Bowl, the one before, where brands were like, "Ooh, we have an influencer, like influencer forward ad in the Super Bowl," and you're like, "No, that's a Super Bowl ad with an influencer in it.
Right.
There's nothing
Yeah.
influencer about that. It just happens to be you used, I won't name names, but and then some brands did start embracing more of the aesthetic of the influencer, or I think Pepsi, Frito-Lay, maybe just announced a whole product line that either the packaging was designed by creators and influencers, or maybe even the products themselves inside the
Yeah.
packaging.
What about I talked about it was a couple weeks before the Super Bowl, Dr. Pepper like changed their jingle to one that was written by an
Yeah.
influencer.
So maybe where we can wrap this up, if you feel like we're ready to, because I know we could talk about this all day. You and I are aware that influencer has bled into, I think, positive ways, so much of traditional marketing and advertising. And so when rage bait comes along, when people are still doubting it, we see them. We understand that they're just trying to maybe draw some line in the sand to have fun eyeballs on their content, but
Yeah.
it's not really a valid perspective anymore to say, does influencer really work?
Right.
Does it really? It's almost hard to answer anymore because it's infused into so many layers
Exactly. I
of
think
a marketing
that's the
mix.
key piece. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we solved it, but we had fun trying.
We sure did. Okay. Till
Good
next
combo.
time.
I'll see you soon.